It's a normal morning. Someone's making coffee, kids are running late for school, somebody's definitely complaining about traffic, and then a flash brighter than the sun. In Hiroshima, 1945, one single bomb turned an entire city to fire in less than a second. At ground zero, temperatures hit over 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Just shadows burned permanently into walls and steps. About 80,000 people were gone in an instant. Tens of thousands more followed in the days and weeks after, and that raises a question that is genuinely hard to sit with. How does a nuclear bomb actually work? And, much worse, what happens if one goes off today? Because once you understand this, the news stops feeling abstract. How humanity unlocked atomic fire. The world's most powerful nations were in a secret race to build a weapon so devastating it could end the war in a single strike. This became the Manhattan Project, and on July 16, 1945, in the New Mexico desert, they tested what they had built. When it detonated, the night sky turned into daytime. Watching it, the lead physicist, J. Robert Oppenheimer, thought of a line from ancient Hindu scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Here's how it actually works. A normal bomb burns chemicals. A nuclear bomb doesn't burn anything. It breaks atoms apart. Inside certain elements, uranium, plutonium, there's an almost incomprehensible amount of energy holding each atom together. When you split one atom, it releases energy, and it releases neutrons. Those neutrons hit other atoms which split, releasing more neutrons. You have a chain reaction growing exponentially. Einstein explained the math behind this with E equals mc squared. In plain English, a tiny amount of mass can become a truly enormous amount of energy. We're talking about 1 gram of matter fully converted, releasing the equivalent of a Hiroshima-level explosion. That's why nuclear weapons aren't measured in pounds. They're measured in thousands of tons of TNT, a completely different category of destruction. When they built even bigger ones, there were 2 original bomb designs. Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima. Fired, 2 pieces of uranium were fired together until they went supercritical. Fat Man dropped on Nagasaki, used explosives to crush plutonium inward until it detonated. Both worked in less than a millionth of a second. The fireball was hotter than the surface of the sun. By the end of 1945, roughly 140,000 people were dead in Hiroshima, 74,000 in Nagasaki, more than 200,000 lives, and the world collectively looked at what it had done and thought, we have invented something we cannot use again. So naturally, humans built bigger ones. By 1949, the Soviet Union had their own bomb. The arms race began. Both sides didn't just build more, they built ones that dwarfed the originals. By the 1950s, hydrogen bombs arrived. These used nuclear fusion, the same process that powers the sun. They weren't city destroyers anymore. They were country-level erasers. The biggest ever tested was the Soviet Tsar Bomba in 1961, 50 megatons, 3,000 times Hiroshima. The flash was visible from 600 miles away. The shockwave circled the Earth. The whole Earth. And at this point, a terrifying idea crystallized. If anyone actually uses these, everyone loses, and this became known as mutually assured destruction. The logic was this: we'll build enough weapons to guarantee your complete destruction if you launch first, so you won't launch first. And somehow that worked. In 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the US and the Soviet Union stood minutes away from nuclear war. For 13 days, world leaders genuinely did not know if civilization would survive the week. Then in 1983, Soviet early warning systems detected incoming US missiles. The protocol was clear. Reported immediately, launch in response. A duty officer named Stanislav Petrov hesitated. He decided it had to be a false alarm. He was right. It was a computer error. One person's judgment, one moment of hesitation, may have saved the world. What if one goes off today? An incident escalates. Missiles launch. From the moment of launch to the moment of impact, about 30 minutes. One warhead hits a major city. In that instant, a fireball forms that blinds everyone for miles. A blast wave then radiates outward, blows out windows across a radius of several miles. Behind the blast wave, a firestorm consumes the oxygen itself. When a nuclear bomb hits a city, the hospitals are gone. In Hiroshima, roughly 90% of the city's medical staff were killed or injured in the initial blast. The survivors, people with catastrophic burns, radiation sickness, injuries that no field medicine can treat. Within hours, dozens of cities across multiple countries could be hit. A full-scale exchange between major nuclear powers could directly kill an estimated 360 million people from blasts alone. But that's not even the worst part. The burning cities would send massive columns of smoke and soot into the upper atmosphere. Sunlight gets blocked, global temperatures plummet, growing seasons collapse. This is nuclear winter. You could be in a country that wasn't involved in the war at all. You still starve. Scientists estimate that a full-scale nuclear war could kill over 5 billion people, not from bombs, from the world going cold and dark afterwards. 5 billion from famine. How we've stayed alive this long. Since 1945, nuclear weapons have not been used again, not once. It's held because of treaties, such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that reduced stockpiles and created limits. It's held because of leaders who, when standing at the edge, chose to step back. Reagan and Gorbachev famously declared, "A nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought." And the global nuclear stockpile has dropped from 60,000 warheads at its Cold War peak to roughly 13,000 today. That's real progress. It is also still 13,000 nuclear warheads. The doomsday clock, maintained by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, is currently closer to midnight than at any point since it was created. New tensions, treaty breakdowns, nations expanding nuclear capabilities. The sword of Damocles is still hanging, just slightly higher than it was. The only winning move. Here's why you needed to know this. Not to be scared, though. Being a little scared is appropriate, but because weapons this powerful exist in a world run by human beings. Human beings who have miscalculated before, who is almost launched by accident, who has, on at least one recorded occasion, had the world saved because one man hesitated. Understanding what nuclear weapons actually are and what they actually do is part of how we make sure they're never used. The people who negotiate treaties need to understand this, because this is the kind of thing we can't afford to stop thinking about.